And James Grande.
What's going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Better Baseball MLB DFS live show here. We are breaking down today's 12-game main slate over on DraftKings and FanDuel, whatever other DFS platform you're playing on here. It's a big slate to kick off a Monday. James, man, how we doing?
Happy Monday, John. We're doing just, you mentioned it last night. It's a bigger slate than normal for a Monday. Yeah. It's usually somewhere between 6, 7, 8 games. Like usually right in that wheelhouse. So getting a lot of baseball here, a lot of meaningful baseball in tonight's slate, a lot of playoff implications. Basically every day. I mean, we've seen teams surge up surge up the standings like the Seattle Mariners. We've seen teams absolutely plummet, like the San Diego Padres. They just place Yu Darvish on the IL. There's a lot going on across baseball. And to top it all off on this 12-game slate, John, we have two of the highest things we've ever seen in these here parts. Ronald Acuna being the first position player in recent memory, being 7K. And we have the Atlanta Braves with a 7.5 implied total. So there are a lot of very interesting things going down on today's slate. So I'm ready to get into things.
Let's get into it here. We'll give a shout out to our friends over at Real Time Fantasy Sports. You know, they got that great best ball championship going on right now, and along with their fantasy football championship that's going on right now, and new users who sign up over at rtsports.com can get themselves a 100% deposit match up to $200 on their first deposit today. So a lot of great things happening over at rtsports.com. We give out our RT Sports Pick'em plays of the day. So James, let's go ahead and get to that here today. Taking a look here today at the RT Sports DFS Pick'em board, I feel like, kind of given what we're going on, we got to take a look here at the Atlanta-Colorado game. I mean, pick your poison. Where do you want to even begin to attack this one here tonight?
Well, they didn't give us any. They obviously didn't give us any of the big studs because I think it's like, okay, if we give them anything, it has to be 2.5. But RT Sports hasn't really done that. Yeah. They haven't dipped into like the 2.5 total base water. So I'm okay going really anything here. I think Kevin Pillar over half a run or more than half a run looks good. Orlando Arcia more than half a run looks good. I'd be willing to go more than 8 fantasy points for Matt Olson, considering how bad Alson Gomber has been against left-handed pitching. Like, whatever we want to do, we can pick. Right. What's your favorite? And I'll go with it because I'm okay getting to any of them.
I kind of liked Arcia more than the half a run.
I agree. He's been maybe their best hitter against lefties for the entire year. That has since been surpassed by Marcell Ozuna's recent stretch, at least in the ISO department. But Arcia actually still leads in WOBA this year, right, John, against left-handed pitching. 468 WOBA against Southpaws for Orlando Arcia.
So, yeah, that's kind of the spot that I was maybe looking to take a peek at here as we went through it today. As I rearrange our screen here. There we go. So that was where I wanted to start. Where did you want to go next? Any game in particular you're looking to target, or I can go ahead and throw one out there as well?
Yeah, I mean, San Diego, although they're dead in the water and they're a terrible team and everything has fallen apart and crumbled and the frustrations are they just got swept over the weekend. Manny Machado, more than 5.5 fantasy points is too low against Adam Wainwright. Yeah. Machado has been really good in the power department lately. One double in runs scored or one double is like we're there already. So Manny Machado more than 5.5 fantasy points.
I like that one. I want to go to the Baltimore and Chicago game here. And we have the matchup with Kopech here. I want to go less than the 4 strikeouts. Is that bold? I don't know if he's going to be long for this game here. Baltimore's offense, again, starting to pick it up. Kopech himself, I know he has some strikeout potential, but this is a guy where if he doesn't pitch deep enough into these games, and this is a number that he's only hit once over his last 5 starts as well. I think Baltimore gets to him early and gets him out. So I'm going to go less than the 4 strikeouts here.
Yeah, and Baltimore doesn't strike out at all. They don't. So I like that. And it's not like the matchups that he had, the Seattle game aside, Colorado, Milwaukee, Cleveland, and he didn't strike out 5. And those are relatively bad offenses. I know Cleveland doesn't strike out a lot, but neither does the Orioles. I like that, John.
Yeah, I mean, he only got 5 strikeouts against Seattle in that game, too. I know that wasn't a game where he was long for either, with the injury there. But, I like the under there. And then I would go to the Red Sox-Houston game. I think it would probably be the 4th play today. You have Christian Javier on the mound here for Houston. Kind of makes sense. Maybe you take a peek at the fantasy points. For Devers, I know that he's up there. You could go the run scored for Turner. Duvall's been one of the hottest hitters. Verdugo's been hot. So pick your poison with the Red Sox hitters, but I like them against Javier tonight.
Yeah, we can go more than 8.5 for Devers. That was the first guy you mentioned.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at today. 4 picks. Everybody got a chance to 10x their money over at RT Sports again. You can scan the QR code on the screen here. New users who sign up get a 100% deposit match up to $200 when they go to rtsports.com/alarm, promo code alarm23 at the checkout there. James, turning it now over to the main feature for this evening here, taking a preview at the DraftKings main slate. Just taking a second here to pull it up here. Do technology, slowing everything down these days. We have this pulled up.
Yeah.
We'll go look at Vegas odds. We already know what
the graphic today.
What the total looks like here. I got the graphic. I was on it a little bit today. We got the totals. Obviously, 12.5 here in Atlanta, Colorado. You and I discussed this morning on the podcast, and then Vegas later confirmed the Atlanta Braves has a 7.5 run team total here today. The highest I think I've ever seen a team have. So not shocked to see 12.5 runs as the expected outcome here in that game.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the highest because I'm sure if it is or isn't, it's been another game in Coors because we've seen games in Coors with like 13,
total
14
runs,
implied totals.
Individual teams for me.
Sure. That is being the 12.5 is being weighed down by how bad the Rockies are. That's for sure. That obviously headlines the slate. There's only one game with 10 implied runs, and that's in the Boston Houston game. That's actually moved a full run. Actually, San Diego, St. Louis also up to 10 too. So we have a few solid game environments today. Nothing else really stands out. Toronto, I believe, is the biggest favorite on the board today. And Seattle and Brian Wu, which I do find a little interesting, and we'll get into it a little bit because I know you and I had discussed Brian Wu quite a bit on the podcast this morning. Yeah. And then I did some research and I was like, maybe we'll something to discuss here. So,
sure.
Vegas looks pretty good. 3 games with double-digit over-unders, 2 games that have over 200, minus 200 favorites.
Sure. Taking a look here then now back at the DraftKings main slate, breaking into pitching. Talk to me how you want to approach it. You and I this morning, again, we looked at the top-end talent. We were like okay with Gausman if we wanted to spend all the way up, but we didn't really find ourselves looking at this top tier all that much. We kind of went right to Maeda this morning. Has anything changed for you when it comes to the top 4 or 5 price pitching here?
I do like them. It's just like, what are we going to prioritize, right? It's like, if you're playing Kevin Gausman, it's essentially impossible to play more than one spend up Brave, right? Like, you're not getting Acuna and Riley. You're not getting Acuna and Olsen. You're probably not even getting like Olsen or Riley, right? Like, if you even exclude Acuna, because Olsen's 6,900 nice in his own right. So I'm okay getting to Gausman. I would say the field getting to him about 30% of the time today makes sense because he's the highest spend up or highest owned spend up. He's the best spend up, I'd say, on the board. But more people seemingly are getting to the Braves as a collective. So it all depends on what you're doing. If you're fading 7.5 implied runs or semi fading them, right? You're basically fading all the top names or a group of them, then I'm okay getting to Gossman. But if you want to get to the Braves, just hard to get to Gossman. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get to Snell. It's hard. And all these, like I said on the podcast last night, Zach Gallen may be in as good a form as he's been in all year. Yeah. He's been amazing. Texas, San Diego, 3 starts in a row, where he's allowed 0-1-1 earned, and he had 11 strikeouts in his last game against Texas, 30 fantasy points twice in his last 3 outings. But against the Dodgers, and he has to face Mookie Betts, who's, the best hitter in baseball right now. So, it's, if you want to get to any of these guys, sure, because the rest of the pitching slate isn't impressive. That's the only thing I'd say about getting to the top names, John. It's like nothing else is like really really a slam dunk, sure, in my eyes.
All right, so then what's like your next most confident pitcher here then?
I mean, Maeda's fine. He also has his deficiencies at times. Like right-handed bats have given him a ton of issues. 245 isolated power against him this year. Not that, Cleveland is, of course, because why look at numbers? Cleveland has 6 lefties in their lineup tonight. Like why does it matter what the numbers say, right? It's just how lefties have to face righties and righties have to face lefties. It's just like, but we have numbers suggesting otherwise. I don't know, but he does have home run issues at times. I mean, 9 home runs over his last 10 starts has been a boatload of home runs.
He's 12 and 15 on the year, so definitely been a problem for him.
Yeah, and it's been lately too. Like he's allowed a home run in 6 straight starts, 2 allowed in 2 starts ago against Detroit.
It's just like who's gonna get to him in Cleveland, right? That's
Mariano, obviously.
Yeah. That's about it, right?
It's not a bad point. I'm just also thinking, like, you look at the starts that Maeda had earlier when he was 7,100 and 7,800, and you're like, okay, I can get away with, like, he had some big starts. He's only had 1 big start over his last 5, and he's 9-2. Sure. It's like if he gets me 17 fantasy points at 9-2, like, I would have rather just spent down to someone else to get me 17 fantasy.
Well, who do you think? Who do you think gets you 17? As if you go down? Obviously, we've been in on Grayson Rodriguez today.
Yeah,
100%. That was like the first pitcher we locked in this morning. Nothing has changed for us there. $7,500. Grayson Rodriguez is like our core starter today to begin lineups with. Him aside, you mentioned you looked a little bit more into Brandon Wu. Like, what is it now that's scaring you off of him?
So I'm not like necessarily scared off Brian Wu, but
Brian Wu rather, yeah.
It's the problem is the lefties have been the problem for Brian Wu since his call up, and the strikeouts are great. He is an elite strikeout arm, specifically against right-handed bats. 31.6% strikeout rate against righties, 040 ISO, 172 WOBA. The good thing is, and on the Wu camp, is the best 2 hitters in Oakland's lineup, maybe 3 right now, at least in power, Geloff, Rooker, Langoliers, all right-handed variety. So, like, he has that going for him. But lefties, John, that 31% strikeout rate becomes a 17% strikeout rate. The 040 ISO became a 330 ISO. The 172 WOBA becomes a 474 WOBA. The fly ball rate that is 16% against righties is a 42% clip against lefties. The ground ball percent that's a 55% rate against righties is a 23% against. Like, it is night and day, righty to lefty. 3 of the top 5 hitters for Oakland are lefty. Noda, Brown, Kemp. That's the only thing. Like, they're not scary. I do like Ryan Noda quite a bit. I do think Seth Brown has some power upside. Lawrence Butler is a decent prospect in their lineup, a lefty. So, like, I like Brian Wu, but I can see him running into few issues here just because he has been so terribly bad against left-handed bats this year. He is firmly in play, and I can't say I blame anybody for getting there at 7,900. He's the third highest projected pitcher tonight for a reason. Again, he has a very high ceiling because of strikeouts and
The
because
win
Oakland
equity is
strikes out.
there as well. If you go over
Yes,
to
for sure.
DraftKings Sportsbook today, Woo. Hold on, that's a strikeout prop. One is a win prop. Strikeout, by the way, a -140 to go over 5.5. So that's good there. Plus 210 to get the W today. Not like a crazy line. But you look at Seattle as a favorite today at -270 on the money line. So, if Woo goes the 5, we have to assume pitch count increases here for him. Odds are that, that white hot Seattle offense that will go over, because we went over it on the show this morning, and every player we clicked on was a 370,000 OPS, like 800 slug for the last 10. You got to think that they get the Kyle Mueller and company here this evening. That Woo is going to be in position to at least pick up that W. But, he's $7,900. He's not $7K or $6,500, right? Like, there is a little bit of price value to him. Our friend Mark in chat here thinking, do we get Jon Gray to 20 fantasy points tonight?
Jon Gray not pitching.
Yeah,
Josiah,
maybe he thinks.
No, actually, Jon Gray is pitching. Both Grays are pitching.
He threw me off there. He threw me off there, James.
Yeah.
Does Jon Gray get to 20 fantasy points against the Mets?
He can. The one thing we said all year is that the Mets didn't strike out. Now it's a 22.7% strikeout rate against right-handed bats in the month of August. So that's on the uprise. There's reports about the Mets trading Pete Alonso in the offseason. Is that going to cause a rift? I mean, the Mets have been very upfront with, like, when Steve Cohen came out and spoke about the team, he was like, yeah, what do you guys want to know? And then the Scherzer interview came out where he's like, yeah, we're selling. We're not going to compete until the next few years. Is the Alonso thing real? Are you going to not rebuild with your best player? Because you can in baseball. Like, you can re-sign Alonso and rebuild at the same time. But
it is kind of an appealing lineup that he is facing today. Now, again, I say that while also saying that, like, Vogelbach and Stewart and these guys have been hitting home runs lately, and, like,
the Bash brothers 5 and 6 right there, huh?
Being productive. But once you get past Alonso at 4, it's Vogelbach, Stewart, Narvaez, Vientos, and Ortega. On paper, those guys' luck should eventually run out. And McNeil's not going to do any power damage. Nimmo's not a power guy. So, if Jon Gray can keep the ball in the park, which he's done a decent job at of late, 5 homers and 10 starts, maybe there's a spot here for him. Gray's been a little bit better on the road this year, averaging 16 fantasy points with a 3.3 ERA. So definitely not a no for me with Jon Gray. It's just, we need a little bit better than current form out of him.
I mean, current form was good until that last start, right? He was
good. He had a run of like 5 starts where he was
sure, he was very bad.
Yeah. I keep clicking on the wrong guy. But he had a run here of like 5 starts where he was pretty bad. Sure. We can get LA, San Francisco, sign me up. 100%.
Sure. Agreed.
So, not a no today, Mark. I think we can get there. Anybody else though? I mean, listen, we have targeted Colorado in the past with their in-cores. Bobby Miller gets Arizona. Corbin Carroll's like all the way back. Should have had any other infielder, and he's got an inside the park home run last night.
Correct.
But Elliot Cruz threw a 99.7 mile an hour laser from short middle, softball field position there, and threw him out at home. So he's all the way back. You have Kyle Harrison against Cincinnati making his second career start. I don't know if you think he pitches more innings. I mean, like, where are you? Like, what are we doing? Where are we going? If we're not going Maeda, Grayson, locked in, Woo, Gray, where like, what else on a 12-game slate is pitching so difficult?
It's probably I am kind of getting to Kyle Harrison. I'm kind of interested there. He's very cheap. And I understand that, he was removed after just 3 1/3, and there's obviously a pitch count limit, and there's just the innings limit in general, what the Giants are going to do with Kyle Harrison and just moving forward, because he had pitched, but we have to consider they're working him up. He's returning back from the grade 2 hamstring strain that he suffered in July. He threw only 22 innings in AAA before the call up. So, the kid's working his way back. He's a top 10 overall prospect in the game. Like, he was their top prospect pitching wise. He had 5 strikeouts in his debut and ran into a good Philadelphia offense.
Right.
Like, Philly's offense has been scorching hot against lefties and righties. He's facing a Reds offense that was good against lefties early in the year, and that's kind of cooled off. In the month of August, 25.2% strikeout rate. That's the 9th highest rate in the league. And a 704 team OPS is 20th in the league against left-handed pitching. So I'm definitely interested in getting to Harrison at 65. And if he were to, let's say, get through 5 innings, I mean, we have, obviously there's the ballpark that he gets to pitch in is ideal because this game's in San Francisco. He could get a win tonight. I think there's worse ideas than paying $6,500 for a pitcher when, 3 of your guys in the lineup tonight are going to be cost more than him.
Right.
Like,
well, that's the rub, right?
Yeah, and you look at the rest of the position, it's bad. Like, there's just nothing that really sticks out. So I'm taking a shot on Harrison. No on Kopech. No thanks on Greinke. The field is weirdly in on Tyler McGill, and I'm not quite seeing it. I get that Texas has been, and I'm not saying heavily invested, but he's one of 7 pitchers anywhere over 8%, which I find a little interesting.
What's the top roster pitcher tonight?
Oh, I mean, 1, 2, 3. Grayson Rodriguez. Oh, I thought you were going to say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Grayson Rodriguez. Come on, dude.
Grayson Rodriguez.
Come on.
We have bad
time.
Get
with it.
Pick up. Okay, is Gausman getting rostership or Snell or Gallen? Anybody of the top guys?
Yeah, Gausman. Gausman and Snell are the only 2 over 9K getting double-digit ownership. Snell's getting 13%, Gausman getting 30%. 3 pitchers getting. Grayson's at 40, Gausman 31, Wu at 31, Kyle Harrison 27, Snell 13. End of double-digit ownership list.
Okay, so we're gonna get Maeda potentially as a contrarian option.
Yeah, if you want to round up Maeda 10.
Okay. So it looks like a lot of people that could very well be going Gausman, Grayson, Wu.
Yep.
To get those
Harrison.
Yeah, to get those Braves in the lineup here tonight. Guys, I see your questions. We appreciate you. Faisal in here first today. Nice. Glad you got here. Got a question about third baseman. Michael talking about Braves and some betting maybe with a 7.5 run scored. They played in San Francisco last night. You got to remember that's West Coast time. So the late game in San Francisco, still a 4 p.m. start, a 7 p.m. out, 8 p.m. And then it's a 2-hour flight. So it's not like they were flying cross country to get to Colorado. Evan in here asking a question about Blackman or Carpenter. Stick with us. We'll hit the FanDuel outfield of the outfielders as we move through the stream. And of course, the Prince in here wondering about FanDuel pitching. That's a question. I think it's Grayson Rodriguez today, sir, on FanDuel for me. I think that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to pull up some FanDuel pricing to see what they got him at, but you just got to get some Braves in your lineup today. And if Grayson is priced similarly
he's 87. He's 87.
Yeah, you got to go there. Got to play Grayson Rodriguez, I think, 8,700 to give it a run. Moving on over to catcher. Mark already given it a shout. We have a 2K catcher in course this evening here with Goodman for Colorado. Hunter Goodman getting called up from AAA the other day. Went 2 for 4 in RBI. I mean,
yes,
I agree. You kind of just have to plug him in, right?
He has 34 home runs between double and AAA this year.
Yeah. And Bryce Elder doesn't really strike anybody out.
Does not miss.
he's listed as a catcher, but it says he's basically going to play first catcher, DA. He can play everywhere, it seems like. So not even like the traditional catcher, but yeah. Only hit 239, but still power's there. I agree.
And if he hits a home run at 2K, he's the highest rostered catcher of the day. Like, you don't have him, you're in deep.
Yeah.
You're in deep.
And if he goes 0 for 4, he costs you 2K. So what does it matter?
I know. And it let you get you Acuna, Olsen, whoever else you wanted, pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially with, likely if you're not playing Gossman, like you're going to be able to spend up wherever you want.
I mean, when we did our show this morning, and we plugged in, I think, Moreno at 25 just to like get some money, and now we're getting an extra $500 to figure it out. So, Mark, I agree with you. If you're watching the show today, you're on DraftKings. Like Goodman is for sure, I think, the just obvious plays because just to help you spend up. Obviously, if you're looking to do something different, actually, I think we had Maldonado in there at 2,500. Maldonado.
Oh, we did.
Maldonado homered off of Chris Sale the last time these two played. Maldonado hits for power against left-handed pitching. He's $2,500, so certainly can go there. Kisner gets Snell, tougher spot, but we like him against lefties. Rodriguez gets Greinke. Jan Gomes gets a lefty. Good spot for him there as well. Gary Sanchez gets the ghost of Adam Wainwright. Could run that out there if you want. You do have Elias Diaz in the lineup against Elder as well, hitting fourth at 42. So you could spend up. I like Kyle Rowley at 46. I like Adley Rutschman at 54. Sean Murphy's 59. And you say it all the time, like nobody plays the Braves catcher. Always the pivot contrarian Brave play. But it's Goodman. It's Goodman for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Goodman for me. All those guys you mentioned are interesting. Murphy is getting some ownership tonight, but like again, they have a 7.5 implied run total. It's hard pressed to not find a Brave.
7.5 implied run total, and the Rockies still have like a 5.5 run total. So it's not like they're projected to not score either.
Right.
So happily to him in so we can just figure out what the heck we're gonna do. With the rest of our life.
That's a good idea. That's a Goodman idea.
Right? I get it. Yeah, Goodman idea. I like it. First base. Olsen is $6,900. You have Freeman, Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Alonso, and Vladdy all over 5K. Christian Walker at 5K. I didn't really find myself like targeting this position all that much. I like Olsen, obviously, against the lefty and Gomber. Not really scared off by that because I don't think Gomber's long for this game. Were you willing to pay up for anybody else here, or was there a different first baseman on your radar tonight?
No, I mean, who is like a better play? I mean, I would play Justin Turner. I would play Ryan Mountcastle. Those would probably be like the two guys I would gravitate to next. But
I was going Casas at 44.
I would play Tristan Casas at 44. Like all those guys are perfectly fine plays. Wilmer Flores 4K, but I'm going to probably find my way to Matt Olson as much as I can because when you look at the splits, Austin Gomber has arguably been worse against lefties this year, and Matt Olson's been elite against lefties this year as well. Through another lefty masher, like 270 ISO, 360 WOBA. So it's Olson for me. But I'm perfectly fine getting to any of those other guys. I guess if you're fading the rest.
Yeah, if you're fading him. Again, there's other. I mean, everybody is expensive in Atlanta tonight, so you got to just kind of pick and choose your battles here and where you want to go. You want to find the value on tonight's slate if you're going to spend up for the infield. We went over it last night. There's a lot of good value in the outfield tonight. So you could find yourself spending up for Braves in the infield and just not triple punting outfield, but like 3 outfielders under 4K. We found 7 outfielders. It felt like 3,800 and below that we were just looking to plug. So it's definitely doable, I think, on this slate here today. Second base,
I got a first base.
I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, we didn't go value. We usually were dipping our toes below 4K. We didn't. Garrett Cooper against Adam Wainwright hitting 6th tonight. He's actually the highest projected first baseman of the slate, which kind of surprised me to see. He's been better of late. I think he's finally settling into being a Padre, 350 average over his last 10. And when you look at Adam Wainwright, I mean, what what do we really need to say about Adam Wainwright at this point? He's as bad as it's going to be, or it's as bad as it's going to get for Adam Wainwright. And the one thing we know about Garrett Cooper specifically has been his power. 180 ISO against right-handed pitching. I know it hasn't been on like full display, and but
I believe it was old friend Craig Mish, who covers the Miami Marlins back in the day when Cooper was on that team, said that if Garrett Cooper ever could find a full-time DH job, he'd hit 30 home runs in this league. Full-time DH job is now his. Injuries have continued to sort of hamper his ability to play every day, but the power is legitimate with this guy. So, definitely can go yard against.
The
Boston broke out.
The Boston
broke out of me. Oh no!
Holy
can definitely go yard here against Wainwright there. I let it slip, James. I usually do pretty good with keeping it in, but the Boston broke out a little bit there. All right. Anybody else for you?
No, let's go to second base.
Great. All right. Second base here. Ozzie Albies has been activated off the IL. He's $5,700.
He's hopping out of the cab heading to the stadium.
Yeah. Opening the door. Albies is great. Now I'm never gonna let it go now. Albies is here. $5,700. We know he's a lefty masher. It wasn't for the hamstring injury. He was on fire at the time. 356 or 1,000 OPS, 4 homers in the 10 leading into the injury. He was always an automatic plug for us when lefties were on the mound. That certainly isn't changing. He's $5,700. I think I find myself looking to get more to Albies than Olsen today. It helps that he's $1,200 less as well.
Yes,
but
agreed.
Had they not been in cores, I probably would have found myself getting to more Albies than Olsen today anyways.
Yeah, I think that usually goes with like positional territory too. Like second, you look at the rest of second, it's not great. Like there's some options that we're going to get to, I think, some good value, I think, on today's slate, but like nothing that stands out to me that much. And you mentioned the price, 57. He was 57 before the injury.
Right.
He had back-to-back 30 fantasy point games at $5,700. So, this isn't anything. Everyone else on the Braves got adjusted where they probably were like, oh, Ozzie Albies hurt.
Right.
We'll just keep, we don't need to change his.
That's probably what it was. The because he wasn't activated, till today.
Yep.
So their algo is just like had him on the IL. We know what that's like when we're doing projections and someone's on the injured list, right? It doesn't get updated unless you take them off the injured list. So, So we're actually getting a value with Ozzie Albies because he would for sure be like $6,500.
Yes,
with Mookie Betts territory here. So, that's where I was locking in second base here today. But obviously there are other guys that are in good spots. You always can play Ha-Seong Kim at 5K. Tommy Edmonds leading off against a lefty is pretty good. Mookie Betts forever. The guy might win the MVP now all of a sudden in the National League. Altuve against Sale, 64. Feels if you're going to spend that much money, you might as well find money for Betts or just pay down for Albies. But obviously Sale, it's been kind of garbage.
Davis, I was about to ask. I was going to ask
Schneider has been unbelievable. 3
is he going to be MVP
games is he? With the home run. Mr. Goggles himself is just like, home run all the time here. Can certainly plug him. Gorman hits lefties despite being a lefty if you want to run that out there as well. Brendan Rodgers is $3,300 if you want that more cheap Coors exposure. It's coming from the Colorado side here. On this slate, I have a favorite of mine in the outfield we'll talk about a little bit later. Massey's hitting cleanup tonight for KC, so there's that spot. So definitely some places we could go at second if you're not looking to plug Albies tonight.
Yeah, and I was waiting for a Pirates lineup. They haven't updated it on DraftKings yet. He is leading off this evening. So
they keep on moving him around. He's in 7th, he's in whatever, but good to see him lead off tonight. I'm in. Could be a solid spot from tonight.
Right. I think that's what we're playing Jaquan Bay with the thinking of like, all right, he's going to get on, steal, and score a run. Pittsburgh is, I think we're gonna talk a little Pittsburgh coming up in the upcoming positions because they're getting a lot of love. They have a pretty high total. They have a higher than normal expected ownership pool coming towards them. So like I do like me some Pittsburgh tonight. And I think like playing guys like Jay Bay, and I put it in today's value vault, not for him, but spoiler, we'll talk about an outfielder on Pittsburgh I like. They just pair with Atlanta really well because everyone other than Brian Reynolds is super cheap.
We got a Seattle lineup here. No Josh Rojas, no Cal Raleigh this evening. So is Caballero still a second base eligible player here? See, they move him around.
I'm assuming he's second base. He is
$2,600.
Second base, shortstop.
Decent little value play there. We know that he was hitting lefties there. They got him hitting 9th tonight. They have Caballero's hitting 8th. O'Keefe is hitting 9th this evening. So a little bit of an interesting lineup there.
I was after Ty France, things are getting a little. Yeah. I mean, is Dylan Moore second base eligible too? He's another guy that's like, okay, he's not anymore.
Outfield shortstop, but some guys that hit lefties, I don't mind. I mean, we've played Caballero and looking another, shocker, like another Seattle Mariner out here, 400 average and 1,100 OPS and 5 stolen bases. The stolen bases were his calling card. We talked about that in the minor leagues. He had, what was it, like, I can't remember now what the thing was. He had 1 billion stolen bases. He has 25 for 28 stolen bases right now. So I don't mind Caballero if you're looking to spend down at second tonight at $2,600.
I don't either. And I think there's no surprise that every single player in the Mariners lineup has like touched, and everything they're doing is just turning to gold.
Yeah,
they're leading the division now, right? So. I don't dislike the Caballero play, and he's multi-position eligible, right? So it makes it even easier. If we don't want to play him here, you can play him over at shortstop too, if you like one of the other value second basemen as well.
Yeah, he's basically a 1 stolen base every 2 games for his like minor league career. So
that's kind of insane.
Yeah, you just guy's a speed guy. So I like that. It doesn't really matter where he's hitting in the lineup. Third base, obviously a lot of top end talent here. Riley's the one that a lot of people are going to be getting to. The power against lefties is ridiculous. But I'm not sleeping on Devers here. I know that he had the x-ray on the wrist, but I'm assuming, one of 2 things is happening here. Devers is just playing through it because the Red Sox are just, it's crunch time. It's win or go home for them basically at this point. So you can look at that as maybe a concern. But Christian Javier has been terrible. We stacked the Red Sox against him when they played in Houston, and the Red Sox have been a better offense at home. So, for me, if I'm not playing Riley, I go to Devers or I go to Gunnar Henderson at 53.
I like both those guys, and I think you're right. Like he could just be fine, and we're gonna learn the hard way if we play him and he re-aggravates it. Right. But he's an elite talent against in a spot that's pretty advantageous for him. And I don't think it's a coincidence that game has gone open at 9.5 is now bet up to 10.5. Right. It's in Fenway. It's in the summer still. Like runs are just scored. Sale hasn't been Fenway.
Good. Javier hasn't been good.
No. Yeah. And Boston is not getting nearly enough. They're decently rostered, but in comparison to the Braves and the Padres and the Pirates, they're not even holding a cup of water to them. So I do like the Devers call, and I do love the Gunnar call. I'm just going to keep saying it. You play Gunnar when he's hot. When he's streaking, you play him. When he is striking out every other bat, you just fade him. And you try to catch lightning in a bottle and get him at the beginning of these hot streaks, but he's in the midst of one. 357 over his last 10 games, even with an 0 for his last time out. So, and he only has 7 stolen bases on the year, John. You've talked about it a bunch. You said it on the podcast this morning. Michael Kopech's allowed the most stolen bases in the American League.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Anybody that has stolen base upside, I know 7 is not a lot. Could be 8 or 9 by the end of the night. If Michael Kopech is not holding runners on. So, Gunnar also has that going for him as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. It's a really great spot for him. Yeah, the White Sox in general hold absolutely nobody on. They let go of Noah Syndergaard here today. So not shocked to see the end of that one. But
Cleveland.
Oh, sorry, the Guardians. Yeah. Sorry.
Did you see his deleted tweet?
Yes, Cleveland sucked. Anyway.
Cleveland sucks. Yeah. Cleveland sucks anyway.
Yeah.
I think he did that. He's done that a couple times now. But like maybe it's not the place you've been in, Noah. Maybe it's just
So I was looking at the graphic I sent you when I said his name, but Syndergaard had allowed like 15 stolen bases in 5 starts in the American League and was already among the leaders. But Kopech was the leader for the American League in stolen bases allowed. Yeah. So good spot from there. I mentioned like the value. Listen, Ryan McMahon, for whatever you want to say about his ups and downs this year, like $4,800 is a good price for him in Coors against a guy that isn't going to strike anybody out of Bryce Elder here. So if you want to go to the other side of this matchup today and play the Rockies, I think it's viable, and McMahon is a way to get there. I mean, he's been on the road and they had him in this like same range. Now he's back home. When he was at home, against the White Sox and the Diamondbacks, he's like a 5K play. So he's a little bit cheaper now. So there could be some value here for McMahon.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, you just look at, let's look at a Rockies player and look at their home road splits.
Right.
Hey, would you guess that Ryan McMahon's slugging percentage is 100 points higher at home this year? Like, would you guess that his OPS is 130 points higher at home? His average is 50 points. Like, it's just, to a T. He has more home runs, double the RBIs in 5 less games at home this year. So, I mean, everything points upwards for Ryan McMahon. And you talked about it at some point. The Rockies have a 5 implied team total. Yeah. It's not like they're just, the Braves are 7.5 and the Rockies are 4. That's not the case. There's a reason why Bryce Elder's not getting any ownership tonight. Right. Because he's not very good and pitches to a lot of contact. And when you pitch to a lot of contact in Coors, that is very
Bryce
bad.
Elder, 176 ISO allowed to left-handed hitters. So
good little tidbit there, John.
Yeah.
And just over the last 30 days, just for context on the strikeout rate, John, take a stab at what Bryce Elder's strikeout rate is to lefties over the last 30 days.
What is it?
Take a stab. Just guess a number.
Strikeout rate? Hasn't strike anybody out. 5%.
I did say I did say number, so I'm glad you picked up on that. 7%. So you're a little low, but I mean, he's literally not missing bats at all.
I had the ISO number slightly wrong. It's actually a little bit better. It's 130. 130 ISO the last 30 days. So still though, I'm willing to go McMahon here against Elder there. Where else are you taking a peek? I mean, we've been playing a lot of Brian Hayes. We have Eugenio Suarez against the lefty. Royce Lewis hit the home run the other day. I mean, what else is on your radar tonight?
Yeah, where is Hayes hitting second officially? Oh, no, Brian Reynolds tonight.
Okay.
That's interesting for the Pirates. We did just gloss over Machado. I don't need to spend a lot of time on him. He gets Wainwright. I would play him at 53 as well. Other than that, Eugenio would probably be the first name I'd get to. I mean, he's maybe the only Mariner not hitting 700 over the last 10 days, but he is hitting 270 with an 830 OPS. We know his pedigree against left-handed pitching. It's been long-standing. They have a decent implied team total, 5 implied runs tonight. Looking at some numbers, though, he's been really bad against lefties this year. It's kind of surprising considering it's been his bread and butter. Brian Hayes is definitely in play. I love that we get Wilmer Flores third base eligibility here, considering how good he's been all year. I would go back to the Royce Lewis train, John. We talked about the Xavier Curry splits the last slate we had him on because he faced the Dodgers, and it was only 3 innings, so he didn't get much. And I talked about how Mookie Betts was my favorite play of that slate. I love Twins tonight. I like their righties specifically. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of them, but Royce Lewis gets the Xavier Curry matchup. Curry against righties this year, 230 ISO, 346 WOBA, elevated fly ball rate, low ground ball rate, 13% strikeout rate. He's not missing any bats. And Royce Lewis coming off the Grand Slam yesterday, he's been mashing both sides of the plate. I mean, we're talking about a guy hitting over 300 for the year. 180 ISO on the year against righties, 370 WOBA. I really like Royce Lewis hitting second tonight. He would be probably one of my favorite plays in this like mid-tier. But dude, I've been talking about Noelvi Marte for like a little bit here,
brings a
John.
good question to our guy, Faisal here, who started off. Got a question at third base. Austin Riley and O'Hearn, or Olsen and Noelvi Marte at third. Braves hitters are expensive. Where would you lean on this question, and talk a little bit more on Marte, man?
Well, do you see where Marte's hitting tonight? He is leading off. He is leading off for the Cincinnati Reds. And, you know, like, he is a highly coveted prospect. He hasn't been great, but what he's been really good at is been speed. And that's what he's flashing. 4 stolen bases through his first 8 games thus far. Harrison, although he's really good, Marte does have the split advantage here. And when you go look at Marte in the minor leagues, 281 average against left-handed pitching. All of his power was really against righties. So, like, that is worth mentioning. You don't get to see what the stolen base numbers are in on Baseball Reference for, like, the splits.
Yeah.
Like, they won't show you in the minor leagues whether it's been righties or lefties. But the one things we know, he hits lefties well, 281 average at the minor league level this year. And he's leading off, and he's free. And if he gets on, even though there's lefty, he's going to probably go. So he had 22 stolen bases at the minor league level before the call up.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the new pickoff rule, right? So like lefty is no longer an advantage on the mound. Right. They just draw 2 throws and then they can go. So I'm seeing if sometimes MLB.com has that split that you're looking for here. They do not though. So solid problem.
Unlucky.
Tried. I gave my best.
Regardless, whatever it is, it's on display. Like, he's stolen 4 bases. He's stealing a base every other game at this rate. So, you know, by math, he's going to steal a base tonight. And no, the answer is that feels like something you just avoid, right?
Yeah,
like,
I would not chase Wainwright's strikeouts. The Prince. I put out a 2-play. I put out a 2-play PrizePicks video earlier today. You can go check those out. Over on the Fantasy on YouTube there, if you want to look for a couple of spots here tonight, but definitely not chasing. Even if he goes over 3, I wouldn't feel comfortable ever putting Wainwright in my lineup at this point. So,
never.
No, thank you there. All right. Well, where are you going though with Faisal special? Would you go O'Hearn Riley or Marte Olsen? Probably Marte Olsen, right?
I'd probably lean the second one because the Marte leading off.
Yeah, Marte greater than O'Hearn, Riley versus Olsen is almost a wash, right?
Neutral. Yeah, I mean, well, like, Riley theoretically better split, but Olsen's just been better. I mean, Olsen's been one of the 4 best players in the National League this year. So,
and you're getting Marte cheaper than O'Hearn too, so like there's even some value there. So.
Yeah, O'Hearn 3,300. I mean, it's a great spot for O'Hearn. Yeah. He's multi-position eligible. He's been good again. Like. But I do lean the Marte direction.
I will say we didn't really touch on weather here. Our guy Kevin Roth does say that this Rockies-Braves game has the most legitimate chance for a delay today. But he does expect the game to play if there is a late start anyway. So that would be something. That would be something. Still playing it. I'm still playing course. I'm not fading it due to the weather, but if we get one of those things like we got, was it 2 weeks ago, where all of a sudden it just rained and the whole
it was the Cleveland Dodgers. Yeah. It was the Xavier Curry last start because I was like Mookie Betts best play of the slate, and then 5 minutes before the slate it was like Kevin Roth, don't play this game, it's gonna be doomed, and then it was doomed. It sure was.
Yeah. All right, shortstop here. Again, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in chat. If you haven't yet already liked and subscribed, please do so. We certainly appreciate it. Helps out the channel. And you get notifications for whenever we go live throughout the week. Quickly, though, James, got a couple more minutes left in the show. We still got to build a lineup. Shortstop, I like, again, the top guys we discussed. Witt, Henderson, for me. Where are you looking to spend your money today?
I'm not really looking to spend up. You can play Gunner if you want. My money is mostly in the mid tier. Xander Bogaerts 4,800 I think is fine if you wanted to go there. But our Orlando Arcia $4,600. He's been great against left-handed pitching all year long. When you look at the Braves numbers, you'd be surprised when Orlando Arcia is basically at the top of every one of those numbers against left-handed pitching. 318 ISO, second on the team, only to Marcell Ozuna. 468 WOBA clears everybody else, including Ozuna, including Albies, including Acuna. So Orlando Arcia, 4,600 is where I'd start. And I told you I like righties against Xavier Curry. And I know Carlos Correa hitless in his last 2 games, but he's still been productive fantasy-wise. And he was really good leading into those 2 games. So hopefully the Carlos Correa's twin brother is not playing baseball for him right now, because I could really use him tonight. I do like the Twins righties quite a bit. So I'm just sticking in this mid-tier range. I'll even throw Ezekiel Tovar, someone that I
was going to say, I was surprised that wasn't one of the first guys you went to. You've been a Tovar tout for a little bit now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't like Tovar. I think it's a great pivot off of Braves, or just like a great pivot in general, just because we know the Rockies don't get a lot of love. I'm looking at the ownership. I'll look at ownership right now. Rockies are 4% owned tonight with a 5.2 implied total. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like, you can play this opposite side of this game here.
Yep. And you could, honestly, I don't know how you would do it. I mean, you use Goodman as your catcher, and you could probably find some other Colorado value, but you could just full game stack this if you double punt pitcher and move on, because again, 13 implied runs or 12.5 implied runs with the lean on the over, like there could just be no other need to play any other game here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then we mentioned Caballero at second base here, but he's 2,600 as a shortstop as well. All right, outfield, again, we hit the 7K tier with Ronald Acuna.
Crazy.
Crazy for sure. Kyle Tucker's 59. I like him. You can go Soto against Wainwright. We mentioned Betts at second, but obviously in play. Corbin Carroll's been ridiculous. He could certainly go there as well for the top guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's been J-Rod season nonstop. I don't know. Another 2-hit home run game yesterday. He's now hitting 530 over his last 10 games. He's going to end the year as the second best fantasy outfielder, probably behind Ronald Acuna, maybe third with Corbin Carroll resurgence. Like, really,
outfield's actually, loaded. Kyle Tucker's right there with some ridiculous numbers this year as well. Fantasy redraft seasons next year and auction leagues.
Yeah.
Budgets are being blown early. I'll tell you that.
Dude, I mean, there's going to be like 5 $75 players next year, and 4 of them are in the outfield. For what it was going into the year, how draft season, like, outfield wasn't loaded, and then if you ended up with like any combination of like Acuna, Julio, Carroll, or Luis Robert, because you couldn't get. If Tucker went first round, Acuna went first round, J-Rod went first round, but if you ended up with like Robert third, fourth round, Carroll fourth, fifth round, you're having a pretty good year.
Bobby Witt was in there.
Bobby Witt, dude. It's good luck next year in redraft. But yeah, outfield is. Soto and I'm not gonna. I know Tatis has been really bad, but like Wainwright has been worse. So San Diego is right there as well.
Yep. Ozuna, $5,100. Where does he rank among Braves rostered players today?
Amongst Braves specifically rostered players.
Homered again yesterday.
He homers, yeah.
He's chasing. He's chasing down Olsen for the team lead in home runs. He gave him a 3-month head start.
He is the 4th highest rostered player. Acuna, Albies, Riley, Ozuna are the 4. They are all 15% or higher. And maybe he's the best per dollar? Question mark? I know 5,100 isn't like what we have been accustomed to playing, but he probably should have been 5,100 like 2 weeks ago when he started hitting home runs like every other day. So I'm perfectly fine getting to Ozuna 5,100. If that's how you get Braves, where you can't get to Acuna or Olsen at 7,000, 6,900, I would say the guy hitting 450 over the last 10 games with 7 home runs is a pretty good consolation.
I want to make Ozuna a core play for me tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's quickly move through here because we are unfortunately quickly running out of time. Mid-tier, where are you going?
Yoshida, Nolan Jones.
Yeah, Nolan Jones is my guy I mentioned earlier. Is like one of my favorites.
Alex Verdugo, 4,500 has been really, really good. You can keep going to Charlie Blackmon if you want to continue to play this game.
We had that question earlier from Evan. Blackmon or Carpenter tonight?
It's probably Blackmon.
Carpenter's not on the main slate, but he's got Severino. So
yeah, well, that's the. So I guess that's a seasonal. Is that a seasonal question?
Or it's FanDuel including 640. I don't really know.
I didn't think FanDuel was including 640.
Regardless, I mean, Carpenter against Severino is a great matchup for Carpenter too.
It is, as long as Sevy doesn't, have another like random good start like he did.
Blank him.
I would still lean Blackmon, I think, in course ultimately.
Sure.
I do think that price is good. Teoscar 4,300, long list of elite players. Santander 4,200. We know how good he's been against right-handers this year. And then we get to the value. I go right to Seiya at $3,600. That was like the first value play. He was the core. He's the first person I put in my value article over at FantasyAlarm.com today. Another 2-hit game on Sunday. He's hit 430 over his last. Dude, he was a highly coveted player coming over last year. Highly, and was awesome. Then he got hurt. Then he stunk. Then he was decent. And then this year was decent. So I think Seiya at 36 is really elite.
I agree with you there. Then a couple of just quickly min price guys that I think we can look at. Not Kiermaier. Where's the 35? Pilar, right? That's where we want to go.
Yep.
Below, I like Melendez leading off tonight against Oviedo. Can certainly go there. Give me your home run call. We'll build a lineup. How about that?
I mean, home run call anyone in course.
Everybody in course.
Everybody in.
I'm going to go Casas tonight against Javier.
Just going. I'll go at literally. You know what? I'll go Julio Rodriguez.
Okay. Give me your starting pitcher. Who are we pairing Grayson with?
Let's pair him with Wu, and so we can fit Atlanta. I mean, we're gonna play good. We're gonna play good minute catcher.
Albies probably. What did you want to do for I wanted to go Zuna. Let's see. Where do we have money here?
I have a punt outfielder in Joshua Palacios, PAL. He's hitting 4th this evening. He has 13 fantasy points in 3 of his last 6 games. Okay. I like him. He was my punt outfielder.
Okay. Third base, Riley.
Yeah. We could play Novelvi there because he opens up a lot, and then play Albie second, and maybe maybe that will get us to Acuna.
Gets us Acuna, and I mean we can just 4-man might as well. 4-man Atlanta. Yeah. Rodriguez, Wu, Goodman, Casas, Albies, Marte, Arcia, Ozuna, Acuna, and Palacios. $600 left over, so some money to play around with if you guys need it here tonight. Get in the Discord. Sign up over at FantasyAlarm.com/win. Take advantage of our monthly or annual subscription. The annual subscription is 40% off the monthly price. So go check all that out again at FantasyAlarm.com/win. James and I will be back tomorrow. Good luck, everybody, tonight. We'll talk to you later.